let's go. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go! Let's go! Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever, wherever you find yourself. This is yours truly, Samuel, joining on another episode of Demystify Tech. Yes, it's another Friday. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you're enjoying your Friday or your weekend, depending on where you find yourself in the continent. Welcome to our episode of Demystify Tech. In today's episode, I'll be talking to you about entities, all about entities, extracting entities from your utterances. Yeah, last week we talked about how to, use the Lewis recognizer, and today we'll see how to extract entities from our utterance. Don't go anywhere, stick and stay. When we come back, we're going to get right into it. Yes, we are back. I don't know why I keep flipping the wrong button on my stream deck, but hey, maybe it's just over excitement. But welcome to the show once again. If this is your first time on the show, please make sure that you actually subscribe to the channel right here. Hit this button, subscribe, and hit the bell button. Let's grow the channel. Let me know your feedback, let me know your comments in the comment section, and let's grow the channel and have fun on the channel. Well, last week we talked about um, using Lewis recognizer instead of just a regular expression recognizer. In today's episode, we'll take a look at entities, how to extract entities. If you're new to this channel and you don't know what we're talking about, please go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, go and watch the previous episodes, and you understand what we're actually taking a deep dive into the Microsoft Board Framework Composer, a tool that allows us to visually design or build bots to do different use cases. So, to give some more context, I started by explaining the fact that when you're interacting with your bot, that is called an utterance. Now, within an utterance are stuff we call intents, and there are entities. Depending on whichever platform or framework you're using, they might have different names for it. Welcome to all of you joining from Facebook, from Twitter, from YouTube. If you're kind enough, just send a hi or just thumbs up, and I'll acknowledge you on the show. So, back to utterances. So, this is how utterances work. Whatever you speak to a bot, or whatever you tell a bot, or whatever you present to a bot, together forms utterances. These utterances can contain intent and entities. Now, every utterance is made up of, 0 to more entities, but at least one intent. So in the previous episode or last week's episode, we saw how to use the Lewis recognizer, which is an AI-based recognizer, to determine the intent of what we wanted our bot to do. So today we're going to see how to extract entities from our utterance. Now, we've been working with the numbers API, and if you're not familiar with the numbers API, let me actually show you what we are working with. So let's go to the numbers API. Now, it's a very simple API that actually gives you random facts about numbers in different areas. It could be facts about trivia, it could be facts about math, it could be facts about anything. This API gives you that. So in calling this API, you can either call a random trivia, a random year, or a random date, and then it will return some information for you. So for instance, if you look at this one here, the random number, which actually you can add a number to, 42. So we want to create a bot that gives us some of these random facts. So what we want to do is how do we pass this number to the bot? All right, you have different approaches of doing this. You can say, um, hello bot, give me a number fact, and the bot can return, and give you five. Actually, let's take a look at what we built last week. That will give you some context. So let's go ahead and open our bot framework composer. Let's open this up. And remember that if you have any questions, you can drop it there for me, and I would be more than happy to answer. Welcome, Eric and Nana Osei, to the show. Hope you are learning some learning some useful stuff. All right, so now let's go ahead. Let me maximize this and let's open our numbers board. So what I did from last week show, let's do welcome. So what I did from last week shows I went ahead to add the various intent or dialogue, so to speak. So let me actually squeeze this here so we can put the two together so I can illustrate something. So if you look here, actually let me zoom in here. So the random section of the API allows you to do three things, all right? Either to say I want a random trivia, or I want a random year, or I want a random date, or I want a random math, all right? So you have three intents. So in your utterance, you can say, give me a random math trivia, all right? Or say, you rather would say, give me a random trivia, or you can say, give me a random year, all right? Or say, give me a random date or a random math. Now, you're passing a number to it. So let's bring today I didn't connect my tablet, but any which ways. So if I said hello bot, hello number bot, give me a random trivia about the number 42. Okay, let's actually type this so that it makes a lot more sense. You know what? Let's do this. I've got it right here. So it's just a matter of opening it up and powering it. Boop. And shift this to this side. And I think we're in business. So let's go ahead and let me open this. So if, oh man, looks like it was off. There you go. Great. So let's go ahead. Let's do this. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, let's clear the whole thing. Okay, so let's pick a pencil here. So if I go ahead and say something like give me a random, all right, let's do this. Let's drop that and let me open the ever popular notepad. This is going to solve our problems for us pretty easy. All right, so let's zoom in. So if I say tell me a random trivia about the number 25. All right, so tell me a random trivia about the number what, 25. Now the whole of this is called an utterance. This is what I speak to the bot. Now, in this utterance, there will be an intent. Now, if you look closely, you realize that tell me a random trivia. So this will be an intent to call the random trivia what? Dialogue. All right. This is the intent, a random trivia. So if you go back to the numbers API, we can have a random trivia, a random year, a random date, a random month. All right. So if I were designing this, I would have intents like random trivia. I'll have like what? Random math. I'll have random date. And what's the last one? Random year. All right. Let's close this. We don't need you again. And then we can do what? Random year. So anytime, so with this utterance, random trivia automatically would pull up and say, well, the person intends to go to the random trivia what? Dialogue. And that has a set of steps that happens in there. Now, if I said, tell me a random math, or if I just said, tell me a random fact about math and something, a number, whatever number that is, that could also infer that I'm talking about a random math trivia. All right, sorry, a random math fact. All right. However, this utterance and this intent has something in it, which is the number what? 25. Now, this number 25 becomes what we call the entity because it's an information that is being added or passed onto the bot. So let me give you an example. So with with this four dialogues. So if we go back to our bot framework composer, let me actually bring this here. Apologies. So you realize that I have done that. I've actually gone ahead to say what? We have a random trivia. All right. We have what? Let's do this again. So we have what? A random trivia. And then we have a random year. Okay. And then we have where's that? Did I have a random? Okay. So yes, a random date. I think I was changing the names. Okay, this is the ugliest rectangle ever drawn. All right, so I have random trivia, random year, random date, and there's going to be a random math. All right, so what I have done is kind of like map the four to the various dialogues. So let's actually go there. I think one of them. So let me do this. So this is random. Let me just rename this. So get random math fact. Okay, so now we have trivia, we have year, we have math, and then we have date. All right, if you open this dialog, this is just the random dialog. Okay, we pretty much didn't do much. We're just showing how to use the lowest recognizer to recognize the intent. Okay, so here you realize that we have math, random, and welcome. We set these triggers. So when this happens, this is actually calling for the get random fact. So we can actually change this. All right, we can actually change this and let it call any of the ones we've modified. So let me go ahead, get random fact. So what we can do is just to for the sakes of getting the clarity, I'm going to go ahead and just add a response. This is the random. So this is the random one, right? So I'll just go ahead here. Let's click here and then add send the response, and then we'll say, let's say this is the, which one is this? Random date dialog. So this is the random date dialog. All right, random date dialog. So let's copy this. That's it. If we go to the random math, I'll do the same thing. Yeah, this is the math fact dialog. So we can just change this. Let's change the response here. Let's say this is the random maths dialog. Okay, it's just all I'm doing is just so this one, let's add a response. All I'm doing is just putting a response so that we can differentiate between the various dialogues when we call them. So I'll paste this. This is the random year dialog, and then we will do the trivia, and I will send a response. This is the random trivia dialog. Okay, so with this done, so now all these have a corresponding response. All right, if we go here, there you go. So all our kind of like intent or dialogues have a corresponding response. And then if you remember, these are triggers. We say that when it determines, all right, that tell me a random fact, or it says randomize random, pick one for me, we know that we are calling the random. Okay, so this is just this is just random. There's nothing to it. Now let's get to the point where now what we want to do is be able to extract. Now here, when we run this dialog right now, all right, you watch this, and when we run this dialog, I think we connect one to, no, okay, we didn't connect it. Okay, well, once we start to pick the intent, we can connect it. One has, I just want to be sure, I'm not sure which one it is, but one asks you for the number. No, okay, I think I deleted that. But anyway, which ways. So now with this, I have all the various intents. Let's go and look at the random. So this here is the intent, all right? So if the person says anything along the line, tell me a random fact. Let me make this big so you can see it, or randomize or random or pick one for me. It knows that it needs to call the random fact dialog, all right? So if I should run this bot right now, it's going to go ahead and run this, and then open a panel for me to test it. So depending on the recognition, it will know that the intention is to go to the random dialog. However, two ways to flow. Let's go back here. Now, there are two ways I can address this. I can say, tell me a random trivia, right? This is one. And the bot can respond and say, okay, what number are you interested in? All right. This could be the turn the bot will take. The first part can be, tell me a random trivia. Okay. And the bot can reply and say, okay, what number are you interested in? Is that okay? So if we want to do the random number, we can go there and change it. That's one way to interact with it. Now, when Lois realizes that, oh, tell me a random trivia, the first part is, oh, the person intends to go to the random trivia dialog. So that pops up the random trivia dialog and then starts to, do whatever that is. However, in the dialog, we can also say that, you know what, when the person is trying to trigger this intent, also look out for entities we can extract. So this becomes a 110. So the 110 utterance will be this, what we have up here. That would be a 110 utterance to say that, tell me a random trivia about the number 25. Or it could be something like this. You can say, tell me a random trivia for the number 25. This is a 110 utterance in the sense that it knows the intention, which is what? A random trivia, and then it also knows that, oh, there is an entity number and that is 25, and therefore I need to pass this 25 on. Is that okay? So how do we deal with that? Okay, there are a lot of ways to deal with this. Using entities, we can extract this information. So keeping to the same thing, let's go ahead here. So this is, let's open this in the web chat so we can see what we've done. And if you have any questions that's confusing, please draw my attention. Pause, just hit, draw my attention, ask a question. I'll pause and answer that for you to get clarity. All right. Ba-bum. So what we want to do now is to use Lewis, which understand. Okay, there you go. So if I should, let's see, will this actually respond? It doesn't respond to the zooming. All right. So aloha, welcome to the numbers world. Let's learn about numbers. Okay. If I say pick one, it knows that the intent is saying, oh, this guy is trying to probably get to the. Did I change this thing? Let me try something. Let's try random, and let's of course. Oh, is the service running? Good question. Let's make sure that our service is running. And let's do random. Hold on just a sec. Let's see. I hope my service is running. So anything like pick one for me should reroute us to the get random facts. Okay, let's see. Let me actually, well, it's the same thing, right? Random fact. And then if we open the random fact, it just says this is it. We don't have any issues here, so I believe our Lewis should be running. So let's try this again. Let me restart the bot. Because this is supposed to identify that. Whilst it's doing that, let's open and see. We're using the default recognizer. Let's say random. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if something changed. Let's see. Okay, so let's run this again. And then let's actually restart with a new welcome to numbers fact, and let's do this. That is gone. Is it running? Hold on, let's see. I'm checking if because this is strange. So we're using, as you can see, we're using the default recognizer, which is Lois. We set this. We have the random. That's the trigger phrase. We have the score here. Yeah, so okay. Let's go and check. It looks like. Let me go and check. Let's check if the service is running because I don't. It looks like if it was running, what would happen is it would know that this dialog is trying to go to a different intent. And then let's see. So maths get random. Oh, okay. So this is get random. Okay. When it runs, I'll try the math again. Oh, sorry. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the show. In today's episode, we're talking about all entities, how to extract entities from your utterances using the bot framework composer, sorry. So let's try maths. Yeah, I think there is something fundamentally going on with the service because this should at least have recognized and redirected, kind of like run the get random maths dialog and done something. So all I'm doing now is let's actually bring this. I'm going to my portal. Let me. Where is that my plugin? Yeah, I have this. I have this plugin that actually masks stuff for me. Okay, anyways, let's move on. So I think it's numbers bot. That was last week exactly. So if we run this, let's be sure it's running because it looks as if the bot, I mean the lowest service that's responsible for interacting, if there's something wrong with it. I didn't shut it down the last time, did I? So let's open this. And yeah, I don't know, for some very strange reasons, lately when I don't know, but when I click, it either takes forever to come or I have to actually right click and open in a new tab for that to happen. I don't know if I probably, touched something that's causing it to do that. I can't really tell. Yeah. But then we will do it. Okay. Oh, so it's now loading. Is this something with, I think it's, I don't know, maybe something with Chrome, but I'm not sure. Because I think the whole of today I'm having, the same thing. Let's see. Let's go to the overview and see what's happening here. Mm, 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 let's see. No downtime. Everything seems to be okay. Let's look at activity logs. Okay. Mm, 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 mm. This is interesting. Are we sure we're on the same? Huh. Okay. Let's go back here. And no, actually, let me go back to the resources. I think we had two. We created the numbers bot, and there was another one. Let's see. Yes, is it a I think it's a numbers bot. I think that's what we used, but I just need to make sure that it's running. Let's look at the overview. Yes, let's say the past week. Yeah, there were some calls that were made the past 30 days. Let's see. So yeah, some calls were made. Request latency. The request came in. Okay, so which means this is the endpoint we are using. So let's see. Let me enter 7 and okay. So um, let's try this. Let's go back here. Let me actually go back here, expand this, and do project settings. And then let me look at my connections. Ah, interesting. Yeah, we have the Lewis key. Anyway, I'll recycle this key. So, okay, let me do this. Let me actually recycle it now. So, give me a sec to recycle my. So, let's go to keys and endpoint. And I'm going to regenerate the key 1 and then regenerate key 2. So at least I know that all my keys are being cycled. So all I'm doing here is I'm actually recycling my key, my Lewis key. Yes. Yeah. So now my Lewis key is regenerated. Let me go back to my numbers bot. Let's come back to the bot. So yeah, all I did was actually to change start and stop the bot. Yes. So all I did was to change the API key for the lowest services so that the bot can use that to do its AI driven intent filtering. So if you have any questions, let it come. Let the questions flow. All right, the bot is running. Let's open this up. And then I'm just going to try this again. Now, if there's a problem, sending. There you go. So I think I had to regenerate the keys. So if I do random, now it sends it and it does the inference and knows that you are talking about the random dialogue. All right. So this is, as you can see, oh yeah, I'm in the way. Forgive me. Let me get myself out of the way. So as you can see, I started with maths and then it said this is the random maths dialogue, and I went to random and it says this is the random fact dialogue. So at least Lois is working. We are able to recognize that. Okay. Now, so let's take it to the next level where now what we want to do is to be able to extract the entities. And I'm going to borrow some info from here and share with you. So let's go down. So in setting the intent, as you saw last week, this will be an example of setting up an intent. Let's go to the end. There you go. So in this case, you might want to, let's call this random trivia. All right. So if this is a random trivia dialogue, and this is the intent, and you're saying something like this. So tell me. So you're saying, tell me a random trivia. This could be one. All right. This could be a valid one, and then you can actually have. Let's copy the whole thing. So you can have one that doesn't have it. Now what you're doing is that anytime you are using entity extraction, you can actually create variables or you're storing them in memory that you can check. If there is a value, you don't need to reprompt the person for anything. All right. So for instance, I can say that anytime it says tell me a random trivia, here there isn't any intent, there isn't any entity inferred. So you can check to see, oh, if there is no entity, then it means I can prompt the user to, ask, kind of like ask the user to provide a number, which is in this scenario. However, I could also ask the same thing. Tell me a random trivia, all right, about, then I can say, here you go, and then I can say here, I'll say number equals something like 5. So this is how you define an entity, all right, in your intent. So let's get rid of this. So here you can pretty much define it any which way. Okay, something like I can say what random trivia can you, or what random trivia about the, and then you can do something like number equals 10. Do you know? All right. So what random trivia about the number 10? Do you know? Okay. Or I can say this. I can just take away the there and say, so it will read something like what random trivia about 10? Do you know? So here I'm telling you that look, I am anticipating something along this line, but the entity here in question is what? Number. All right, and that can be extracted. Now there are built-in entity types, and you can also create your custom entity types. So for those who are familiar with programming, see entities as kind of like variables. Variables you use to as placeholders to store information that you exchange or extract. All right. So let's get it. So now that you understand this, let's see how you can actually add some. All right. So it's quite very easy. So let's go ahead. Now, one thing you need to know is that The entity value can be used directly in your expression, all right? Or like I said, you can store it in memory, okay, and you can use later. So an example would be if you're using this utterance and it realizes that there is no entity, it will just go ahead and prompt you to enter a number. But if you use something like this, it knows that there's an inferred entity which is number, and it will use that. Okay, so let's see an example. Okay, um, and then we're going to modify this and then include some form of entity extraction in that. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So let's close this. And then, oh no, I'll just leave it, not to close it. So let's come back here. So let's come back here, random, since we are still dealing with random, okay? So what we can do, or actually let's do, we can do trivia, right? So let's do trivia and let's see how that works. So again, if you remember, you click here, you add a trigger, and then it's an intent recognizer. And how do you want to call this? I'll call this trivia, all right? And then here, as you can see, you can do something like tell me, I can do something like tell me a trivia. Okay, trivia, right? Or we can say, um, do you have any trivia? Actually, it's a random trivia, right? So let's say random. We have any, or you can even just say trivia. It will just figure that intent out. Or I can just say trivia, right? Or I'll say give me a random trivia. Okay, so let's submit this. So this is the invocation, and you realize that it is called trivia. Okay, so on this side, remember how you use the how you check for a score. So we're going to go ahead and click the drop down and do an expression and say it's equal to if the hashtag trivia dot what the score is greater than or equal to 0.8, all right, then that's what we want. Okay, so basically, so then I can say actually it's a dialogue management, begin a new dialogue. What dialogue is that? This is the random trivia fact dialogue, all right, pretty much simple. So if we restart our bot again, and then we triggered it with anything trivia or random trivia, would expect it to reroute us to the random trivia thing. And what does it do? All it says is that it just says this is the random trivia dialog. So that's what we expecting the bot to tell us. Now, once we understand this, all right, once we understand, once we understand this, we are now going to change the trigger utterances to include, all right, to include extracting the entities. So there we go. Is it done? We're just waiting for the bot to start so we can test our new dialogue out. Okay. And hopefully, okay, there you go. So if we run this and I refresh this conversation, so if I go ahead and say trivia, it's sending, and will know that we are trying to redirect to the trivia dialogue. Okay, this is being trained. So as you can see, it knows that you're trying to reach the what? Random trivia dialogue. So at least this side of our thing is done. Great. So let's close this. And now let's come back to the random. Let's come back to trivia. Okay, so this is how we are calling it. This is the utterances for the intent. Now, how do you add an entity? Quite simple. All right. To do that, you can click the add entity here. I think I showed you how to type it, or you can simply add it as part of um, your definition for the trigger phrases. All right. So let's go ahead and check that. So if you look at the trigger phrase here, I could have used this built into it, or let's go ahead. So in this case, how would we do it? We can say, we can use the same thing. Tell me a random trivia here, and then I will do about, and I can do, number equals whatever. So I'm just going to copy this first. Let's just copy this. All right, and then go ahead and say, let's add an entity. All right, so I was telling you there are a few types of entities. Okay, we have the pre-built entity. So pre-built entities, see them as variable types, which have the AI backing to determine the type of entity there. You can have an entity that's a date, an age, a dimension, an email, a key phrase, money, number, ordinal, phone number, temperature. By default, the AI will know how to handle that. So I can decide to say that yes, I want to use a pre-built entity, or I want to use a machine learned entity. All right. These are the two types of entities. So pre-built are the ones already defined. Machine learned are ones that you are creating for your machine. So for example, if you look here, you have pre-built like age, date, dimension, email, money, number. I don't see anything like color. So I'll create a machine learned entity and then call it color. And then that becomes kind of like a custom way of picking up these things. So let's use a pre-built in this demo. And obviously it's a number. All right. So our entity is a number. So what's going to happen is that with this defined, all right, I can now come here and determine, okay, to determine, okay, so for these entities, okay, what are the required entities? I can say number is required. Now, if I specify that the number is a required entity, anytime I say or I provide an utterance, it's going to, search that utterance in search of an entity of a type number. All right. So that is one way to deal with entities. And like I mentioned, the other way would be to, just go ahead and do what we did here, okay, and then do something like number, right, equals 10. Let me bring this here so we can get that on one line. All right, this is one way to do it, and this will not be seen as pre-built because I didn't prefix it with pre-built number equals 5. You could do that, okay, you could do that as well, but this will be seen as that regular how do you call it? That regular number. Or I can also come here and do something like this and say, do you have any trivia for, and then I can just copy the same thing here. So, and build it and say that number 5. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to train it with 10 and 5. It knows that it's of a type number. Okay. And then, so now what's going to happen is that when these trigger phrases are said and they pick up these entities, what can happen is that it can store this, all right, in memory that we can use subsequently in our flow. Okay, so again, it gives you a score, and then you can pick the score, all right, and then you can see the entities it picks out, and then use the entities, to do some stuff. So let's see how we can put this together. Now, usually in Composer, you can achieve some of this flexible entity extraction by, once you set your recognizer type, okay, and then you define or you desire that Lewis is what you want to use, and then you can again, don't forget, you can also use the regular expression, how do you call it, recognizer. That also works. Then you're going to use the language understanding notations, all right, to define what is the response that people will give what is the response the bot will give you when it recognizes that. So let's do a very simple uh, example of this. So we have done this already, where when you call it, it calls this dialog. So let's go to the get random trivia, because that's what where is that? Where's the random trivia? So here. So when we are here, okay, when we are here, um, what do we want to show to the user? All right. Now we can actually store this information, all right, the number in memory and reuse it. So that's what we're going to do. And let's go ahead and do this. So once this happens, this is the random. So instead of saying this is the random trivia fact, we can change the name. All right. And then we can say, let's do this. I can say, I can say something like, awesome. This is the random trivia dialog, right? And then we can say something like, if you let's figure out, let's just start by just picking out the utterance. All right, so I'll just say awesome, uh awesome, comma, don't mind my responses. This is the random trivia dialog. Cool. Okay, then I would go ahead and do ask for something. All right, so I can say ask question. So here I can say ask for, it's a number, um, it's a confirmation, it's a multi choice, it's a file attachment, date time, ask an activity, a whole lot. Okay, or you can say text and then you're asking. So let's do a number. All right, so we're prompting for a number. Okay, then I can say that actually, let's do this. Let's delete this and let's delete this response. And instead of just response, let's do ask for a number. All right, as the very first one. So here we can go ahead and something like what, let's say what we are saying, what we are asking them. So let's say what, let's start with what number are you interested in? Okay, that's one. Let's add another response. Yeah, that's just a regular variation, and I can say something like, what's your lucky number? I know most of you start saying, some of you like to say what's your lucky number a lot. All right, so let's restart the bot and test it and be sure that at least when we get to the trivia, it's able to prompt us for a number. All right, I'm not done yet. I'm supposed to, once this response is done, I'm supposed to go to the user input. Okay, for the user input, and then here, all right, here, how do I want to name it? Okay, there's some, yeah, because I didn't provide the user inputs, that's why it's saying that. So let's leave it out. We'll fix it and then we'll call that. So how, the question is now, how do I want to store it? All right, and is there any specific thing that I'm looking out for? So I can say that I'm going to store this as something like user dot number. All right, so now this means that anytime the person provides a number, whether it is in a one-touch utterance or it's a multi-turn conversation that the person provides the number, I'll store this in the user.number. All right, and I can decide to trim or do stuff with it, but I won't. I'll just leave it. All right, or yeah, it's already coming in as a number, so I don't need to do any validation and stuff in it. All right. So That's done. Another thing I want you to pay attention to is that what are you expecting as response? Okay, in some cases, I am expecting something along the lines of. Let me wipe the whole of this. I'm expecting something along the lines of something like my lucky number is, all right. And then as you can see, you do the at, and then we have where is that? We have the user dot, how do you call it? Number. Okay. I hope this makes sense. All right. So I can say this is sorry, user dot number something like equals 10. Okay. Oh, it doesn't. Let me do this. Let's do this. So something like this. Oh, I forgot to bring this. Yeah, there you go. So this is one, or the person can just go ahead um, and say something like, just they can say this. What's your lucky number? And they can just say the number. All right. They can just say the number. So let's go ahead. And this is one thing, because we added the entity number, I have to, provide that as well. So I can go ahead and add the entity pre-built, and we just use I think we only used number, right? But let's just add this. I'll go and change it in there. So pre-built as number, and then there you go. Yeah, so it's number. So here the person can just go ahead and say this, right? And go ahead and say at number, all right, at number equals 12, or any other thing. Okay, or the person can say that how about, and then we do this, and then it will say at number equals 4. All right, let's clear this. So yep, and then I can just do something. I think it's just number, so that's fine. Yeah, so there you go. So now the pre-built number called number, all right. So that's what I'm using. So here, these are some of the how do you call it, the utterances the responses I'm expecting from the people. My lucky number is, sorry, this is it, not user number. That's the sorry, that's the prompt. Good. So there you go. We can do something like this. Let me space it out. There's nothing wrong with spacing it out. Yep. All right. So this is what I'm expecting. Now let me copy the whole of this and now go to the trivia. All right, and come here and let me do the same thing here. Actually, let me get rid of this. Let me add entity here, predefined number. Let's call it number. Yep. What is it saying? Number has been defined. Oh yeah, in a pre-built entity type. Can I be yes, so it has a row. So the row here, okay, let's do this. Let me do has rows, and then let's do number here. There we go. Or another thing is, so the reason why Okay, let me get rid of this. All right. And the reason why I'm not providing here is when you get to this place, all right, the response here. I am expecting the user to provide this information, and this can now be captured. All right, this can now be captured and used, all right, as my utterance. Okay, so we've done that. Um, and then now let's go ahead and try to run this. So let's go ahead and quickly run this and check. So I'm going to run this. So this is called user the number. So I'm expecting this, and then when I get that intent, I want to do something. Let's do this. So once I get that, what I want to do is let's do this. Let me quickly do this. Looks like we're running out of time. So I'm going to set a property, and I'm going to call the, I think we already have this, so I don't need a property actually. But I'm going to send the response, because when the user speaks, this is what happens. And then what I'm trying to do now is I'm going to pick the info from here, all right, and then pass it into it. Pass that pre-built thing. Sorry, that entity into um, my utterance. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's do this. There we go. So let's run this. Actually, let me run this and be sure that everything looks okay. All right. What's it saying? Louisville failed. Number already exists in a specified application version. Oh, okay. Let me call this. Let me call this my number. And then I can now use my number here. And this should be fine. Let's run this. Let's do it. Let's do it. Mm-mm-mm. Building. Really? 2 minutes? Oh no. I think we're going to have to do a part 2 of this. There you go. Everything is running fine. Yes. So now, where is that? Come on. So now I'm going to go there, and then I'll just see my lucky number is that. And then let's see how. So what I need to do with the value is, I believe before I do that, is to set it. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and let's set the value to be, let's set the value to be um, so it's not user. I think we have the, not the value. We don't need a value here. Yeah, we have the number. But what I want to do is, let's add this to stuff that we pick up from our utterance. So let's go ahead and let's do this. Not a conversation. So add my number. Let me build this. Before we get out of here. There you go. Save, 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 saves. Pum 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 pum. Okay, so now if we open this up, all right, let's restart the chat, and then I say trivia. So this will know that I intend to go to the trivia dialog. All right. So do you see that? What number are you interested in? What if I say, I can just say 78 and hit a number. All right. Now, nothing is going to happen here. Let's do this. Let me bring it here. So now you realize that when I said trivia, it picked the intent and I said what, and it asked me what number are you interested in, and I said 78, right? You realize that at this point, it just we didn't ask it to do anything, but to show that it actually picked whatever I said. This is what I'm going to do. So I'll go ahead here and then send a response and say something like, well, let's get you info about, and then here I can go ahead and do something. Yeah, I can actually add that from here. Here. So yeah, right. So there's it. So let's get you info about that number. So let's save this and run. Then you understand. So in my response now, I'm going to say a longer utterance which has a number entity in it, and you realize that that will be picked and then it will be given back to me in a response. And then that is the easiest way to extract intent and entities from your utterances. I will do a part two of this, and in the next part, I would actually properly explain. I think I was just worried about a couple of things in the background. So, but to properly explain how we can do tens to determine, okay, this utterance doesn't have an entity. So what do I do? We'll talk about that in next week's episode. But for now, let's check this out. So let's run this, and then I'll just say trivia. Okay. And it will know that, oh, Sam wants to do something about trivia, and then we'll say, let's say my lucky, oh sorry, let's type this. So I'll say my lucky number is 32. Okay, let's see what happens here if it learns enough. Now do you see that? Well, let's get you info about what 32. So this, I asked for a trivia, and it asked me what number are you interested in. I said my lucky number is 32. It was able to extract and know that, well, let's get you info about what 32. So the next thing we could do is that now I can extract this 32, call the numbers API, and I know that this is trivia. All right. So here I can also set another variable to determine the type, which is random trivia. All right. So in this case, when I'm calling the numbers API, I know the type and then I know the number. All right. So thank you very much for making a day with me on this episode. Now that we know how to extract entities from our utterances, next week we'll do a part two of this video, and then we can now use this extracted entities to make calls, and then see how to break away from, how do you call it, to kind of like do conditions where if the utterance doesn't include a number, we can actually prompt for the number or force the person to provide a number. With that said, thank you very much for all of you who joined. Hope this was educative and insightful enough. If it is, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We want to grow the channel. Till I come your way again next week, stay safe, enjoy your weekend, and make the world a better place through technology. I'm very, very appreciative. Catch you again next week.